I took a research project which involved immersing myself in the life and career of David Bowie for a year. It resulted in 2 books. This is the second book, which is out this moment. I will be reading an extract from this book about a period when Bowie was particularly healthy. The context of this is that in the year 2000, 28 years after his son Duncan Jones was born, he had a daughter, Alexandria. Bowie had still been hoovering up huge amounts of coke in the early 1990s. He was still chain smoking through the 90s too, but he'd scaled down from his 1970s brand Gitan to Marlboro Lights. He was on 40 a day in 97. He confessed to Jarvis Cocker in a big issue interview. I should go even lighter, I suppose, because I know I'm going to have to give up sooner or later when the kid comes. It was the last of his vices. I smoke like a chimney, he admitted at the end of the decade. But that's about it. I do Tylenol, but nothing else. I don't do anything anymore. I don't drink, I don't do drugs. He finally quit completely by the end of 99 or by December 2001, depending on who you listen to and who you believe. He now woke up at 5 a.m. each day before the baby. He meditated regularly and worked out with a boxing trainer. His personal chef kept him on a healthy diet. He took cholesterol pills on his doctor's orders. A new regime for a new millennium. Typically, he even rewrote his own history, telling Kate Moss he'd not really taken drugs when he was younger. He wanted to purify his past self too. He wanted to live long and live well for Lexi's sake. They'd already had a scare on September 11th when Bowie called him on just as the second plane hit the World Trade Center. She was in Manhattan with the baby while he was recording upstate. Get the pram, he ordered her down the phone. Get the hell out of there. She took the pram and ran 20 blocks with it. Later, David visited Ground Zero and wrote a song describing the Great White Scar over Battery Park. It became New Killer Star, which opened 2003's reality album. The accompanying tour was his last. Despite the new health regime, his body was starting to betray him. First, it was a simple sore throat leading him to miss easy notes on China Girl. He threw down the mic stand in disgust. He wasn't used to this. What, you don't think the last 25, 30 years has taken a toll? Asked Mike Garson, his long-term pianist. The throat troubles were followed by bouts of flu, causing him to cancel dates in December 2003. During a set in Oslo, he was hit in the eye with a lollipop thrown from the ground. You bastard. Do remember I've only got one? The other's just become a little more decorative than it was before. Then in Prague, he struggled through reality, left the stage in obvious pain, and came back to apologise, blaming a trapped nerve in his shoulder. He finished the set sitting on a stool. After his next gig in Germany, he was taken straight to hospital for an angioplasty with stents placed as arteries. His bandmates agreed he'd suffered a heart attack on stage, though it was never officially confirmed. Other sources suggest this was neither the first time nor the last. Guitarist Reeve Cabrels knew Bowie had dealt with chest pains for years, but he swore me to secrecy. I should have told him Mum. Bowie clearly dealt with serious illness by covering up and keeping it to himself. He'd become adept at separating his personal life from the public image and controlling his media narrative. If he could maintain the lie that his health was fine, maybe on one level, it would become the truth. By now, he was a New Yorker by default. It wasn't planned. It took him by surprise. I've lived in New York longer than I lived anywhere else, he realised in 2003. It's amazing. He got to know Nolita and Soho, his new territory. He knew when to go out and knew when to stay in. He'd wave across the street at Moby, chat to other dads in the local park, grab a grilled chicken sandwich with watercress from Olives on Prince Street, pick up a bag of oranges on the way home. The 10 years of his unofficial retirement between the reality tour and the next day, were very different from his earlier decades. It was a good life, but the pace was transformed. The old energy had shifted. He wasn't in a rush anymore. Having a family leveled me out, he explained. I'll tell you what a lot of it is. It's moving from a life of action to one of little more contemplation. Initially, every minute of your life has to count, and you have to be doing something. Now, aware of his own physical vulnerability, he just wanted to make it last. I just want to be there for Alexandria, he told a newspaper in 2003. I desperately want to live forever. You know what I want? To still be around in another 40 or 50 years. She's so exciting and lovely. I want to be around when she grows up. He was doing everything he could to stay alive, even while his body conspired against him. He scaled down, took things much more quietly. He was keeping himself to himself, explained photographer Mick Rock, his friend since 1972. At the time, everyone thought he was dying, but he was just not doing anything. I spent a couple of weeks in New York during December 2015, just before he died, visiting his favourite shops, cafes and bars. Washington Square Park, the Vesuvio Bakery on Prince Street, Dean and DeLuca's Delicatessen, McNally Jackson Booksellers, the Café Gitane and Café Reggio. He used to slum in here, wearing a hoodie and flat cap, carrying a Greek newspaper as a disguise. It was December and I was following the strict schedule of my research year, so I was still wearing my custom-made duplicate from the Queen jacket from Earthland with a goatee beard and black eyeliner. Unlike Bowie, who dressed down to disappear, I was in full costume, a tribute act, an unconscious echo of him dressing up as Warhol and enjoying the double takes from Manhattan like 20 years before. Someone stopped me on his street to compliment me on my outfit. Bowie once said of his life in New York, looking out of the window and watching people is quite enough to keep me occupied for a minute. If he glanced down from his window at that moment, from his apartment high above on 285 Lafayette, he would have seen me. But by that point, of course, everything had changed. I just didn't know it. Most people didn't know it. He had told very, very few people about his illness, recorded Johan Brink, that's the videographer for his last two videos. He had told very, very few people about his illness. Even people in his closest sphere didn't know. He told because he had to. With hindsight, he looked frail and old in the photographs from the opening night of Lazarus a few weeks earlier on December the 7th, but then everything about Bowie's final months seems obvious with hindsight. Candy Clark, who played Mary Lou in The Man Who Fell to Earth, missed the musical, but saw the pictures. He looked like he was in pain and kind of yellow, jaundiced, dry. That should have been a clue. There were so many clues, only visible after his death. Suddenly, in secret, after those years of taking it carefully and easily, Bowie's relationship with time had shifted again. Thanks very much.